Welcome back to What You Missed, a video game news show where I discuss articles that occurred within days to a week ago that you may have missed that are important to the video game industry and possibly to you. Hey, how's everyone doing out there? I hope you guys are enjoying your weekend. I sure am. It's a nice day, so get out there and see the world, but not too long because we got some video games to be played as well. And the first story I want to get into is that Nintendo might have dropped a clue for the N64 Classic coming. But I think this is a little bit of wishful thinking. I don't necessarily think that this is going to be impossible. That's not what I'm saying. I do think that this is eventually going to happen. I just don't know how quickly. So basically, there was a NeoGAF member looking around for trademarks, and they reported talking about what they saw. Of these 4 trademarks that was listed in the European Union Intellectual Property Office on July 18th, one of them was a N64 controller from the 1996 console, the N64, the Nintendo 64. Along with it were 3 other trademarks, the NES, SNES, and Nintendo Switch controllers. I'm not entirely sure what this means, but if all they found was a controller, it very well could be that Nintendo is developing wireless adapters or USB adapters or USB Type-Cs for the NES, SNES, Nintendo Switch controllers, and N64 controllers, and just changing them around to work with the Nintendo Switch. So when the Virtual Console comes out, they will sell these controllers that you can purchase as well, because they're having that online service come about to where you're going to be getting access to certain games. So if they could sell a controller with it for 10 bucks, you know, that would be really, really great for them. So that could be what this is, but I do think the N64 mini console that's going to have games built into it will come about, and I'll tell you why. Because it's one of the last cartridge systems for modern consoles today. The Nintendo Switch changed that around, but after the N64, basically every other console, aside from the Game Boy line, decided to do away with cartridges. So CDs are bigger, same with DVDs, same with mini discs. Like, people are expecting a miniature GameCube to come out sometime, and I just don't think that's ever going to happen unless it's going to be 20 years in the future, maybe even longer, because those mini discs are huge information, and the Nintendo Switch only shipped with about 32 gigabytes internal memory. I know you can add external, but we're talking about consoles that have a very closed-off operating system, because Nintendo doesn't want these things to be hacked just like the original NES was, because that causes them to lose out on money. When they make things easily hackable like that, that's a problem for them. So they won't add more memory. They won't spend the money to add more memory, which means those GameCube games that are around 1.3 gigabytes in space, a little bit more, a little bit less depending on each game, but that's the average, that's going to be hard to fill up a system and to be able to sell it dirt cheap. You know, we're talking about the Nintendo Switch that sold for $200 to $300, depending on where you got it and the discounts and the time you bought it at, versus a $60, $70 NES, SNES Classic. Like, how do you make a GameCube Classic be as cheap as that while still incorporating the amount of memory you need to incorporate to get 20 to 30 games on there? It's next to impossible. You're going to have to charge $150 to maybe even more to make a profit, and that's just the way it is. So I think the N64 Classic will come, but I think you're going to be hard-pressed to see a GameCube Classic come. Anyways, I think the N64 Classic will come later on. I don't necessarily think it will come this year. They just dropped the SNES Classic. I would be shocked if they dropped the N64 Classic. I'm still holding out hope for a Game Boy Classic. Over at Comic-Con 2017, you can actually see beautiful photos of the SNES Classic Mini. Now, what's interesting and funny to me about this is that they have Zombies Ate My Neighbors next to the SNES, and it's funny that they have that there because Zombies Ate My Neighbors isn't on the Classic system, though it really should be. That's an absolutely great game. Very funny parody of all the horror movies, killing zombies with squirt guns, the Wolfman, Dracula, the Mummies. Really great game. If you've never played Zombies Ate My Neighbors, you're missing out. But the point is, it's really strange that they have that. Now, they showed an old SNES that's yellowed over the centuries, and they put it next to the new SNES Classic, and it is indeed much smaller. You can basically fit an SNES Classic and a Nintendo Mini system on top of an old Super Nintendo. These Super Nintendos still work these days, so if you're looking to get one and you're not interested in buying the Classic, you can just go online and buy it with a few games. But the games are still very, very expensive because they're good games. They're really good games. So of course they're gonna retain their value and their rarity. But there you go. If you wanted to see that, that's over at Comic-Con if you want to see it in person. But you can see it here with the pictures as well. So the PS4 was once again the top-selling console for June 2017. There's quite a few consoles that are out these days: the 3DS, the Nintendo Switch, and of course the Xbox One. I think the reason that the PS4 is top-selling is due to an unfortunate problem with supply and demand with the Nintendo Switch. And of course, when the SNES Classic comes out, I can almost guarantee you that thing will be completely sold out. So if Nintendo ramps up production for it and it completely sells out, it might even take over the PlayStation 4. It is a console. It might not be viewed in the same way, in the same fashion as other consoles, but it still is a console. And it would be great to see that happen. It would really be shocking. I know a lot of people would be like, what? The Super Nintendo Classic outsold the PlayStation 4? That's nuts. But anyways, they did see an increase in the software sales as well. It's the same individuals that I talked about last time, the NPD group that talks about the sales. And the top selling games according in the US is Tekken 7, Injustice 2, Grand Theft Auto 5, the Crash Insane trilogy. Those were the top 4. Of course, most of them being able to be gotten on the PlayStation 4, the Crash Insane being exclusive. And then you go down the list and you can see ARMS, The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Overwatch, NBK 2K17, and Horizon Zero Dawn. I think it's interesting that we're barely seeing any Xbox exclusives, if any Xbox exclusives. I'm not a fanboy of Sony or Nintendo. I like all consoles. I like all gaming. I think that's what's important. But it's not good. It's not good when you have a big company like Microsoft not even showing up on the top 10 games list. They really need to pick it up, man. They really need to start putting out some interesting games, entries, and stuff like that. Otherwise, there's going to be no reason to get you an Xbox One X. Despite how powerful it is, it's just going to end up being the Atari Jaguar all over again. Really powerful console, but there's no good games on it that you want to play, so why would you buy it? And I want to finally conclude on Destiny 2. So people have been able to glitch into unfinished areas within the beta, which is not a shocker. I'm not even worried about that at all. The thing is, though, the interesting thing about this, though, is that there's still stuff that's happening from the original Destiny that's being carried over. This isn't a shock to me personally at all, but it's weird because you think that people would learn their lesson. You think that Bungie would learn its lesson, that if you put out something like this, people will get into it. And you're going to sit there and say, I know a lot of people are going to sit there and say, oh, it's a beta. This is what people are supposed to do. This is what you do with a beta. No, come on, listen. I understand that. I get that. But they knew, man. Destiny's been out for a long time, and people have been able to glitch into areas very easily. They know the techniques. They know how it's done, and they still allowed it to happen here in the beta. So I thought that was kind of bad to a point. I think it's cool that you can get into those areas, but I think it's bad upon the game development portion, because then it just goes to show the lack of ability, foresight to block off this stuff. Then there are people out there making videos like Destiny 2. Why Destiny 2 will ship unfinished like Destiny 1 did, and maybe it will at the end of the day. You're the ones buying this game. You're the ones who are actually purchasing this game. If you think it's going to be unfinished and you don't want to pay for the game unfinished like this, don't buy it, don't pre-order it, don't buy the season pass or anything like that. But if you're okay with them giving you content later on instead of giving it all to you up front, then buy the game and be happy with your purchase. It's about $100 to get the deluxe edition, and I'm sure later on in 1 to 2 years they're going to have another season pass DLC that you can purchase, which will probably be anywhere from $25 to $50. So at the end of the day, if this game lasts 2 to 3 to 4 years and you've only spent $150 on it, if you divide that up by 60 and you're spending, $60 on a new game, and you're getting this game with tons of DLC and it keeps you entertained, then you can do the math yourself and figure figure out if it would be worth it to spend $150 or so on this game, or to keep that money and spend it on 3 separate games. It really does depend on you. If you're a person who really enjoys Destiny 2, then you'll probably enjoy this game. If you're someone who didn't enjoy the original Destiny, you probably won't enjoy this game. I'll do a further review of the Destiny 2 beta and talk about my thoughts and opinions on it. I think the game is great. I think it turned out great. It's not a glitchy mess. The network is very, very solid. It's wonderful. I like it. I've enjoyed my time playing the beta quite a bit, and that's what I'm off to do right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure to like and share this. My view goal is going to be at 40K. I'm setting a high bar, but I want to get up there. I want to be someone who people can go to and say, look, I listen to Protomario, I watch Protomario. He's really good at delivering the news. Maybe I don't agree with his opinions 100% of the time, but he does list his sources, so I can go and look myself at these articles. And I just want to be one of those providers out there that can give you the news in a format where you don't have to feel like you're being spoon-fed BS. That's how I feel, ladies and gentlemen. I've been your host, Protomario. I'm signing out. As always, good gaming, God bless, and I really appreciate you guys taking the time out to watch this video.